I'm Henrik Mårtensson. Welcome to the second part in my series on change management. This time I'm going to talk about obstacles to learning. This is an important topic because without learning there can be no change. The learning process of people and of organizations can be modeled as a double loop. We traverse the inner loop quite frequently. We take some action based on our action strategies, face more or less immediate consequences, and modify our strategies accordingly. Traversing the outer loop is slower. When our strategies fail to produce the desired results, we eventually begin to question the values the strategies are based on. This eventually leads to a paradigm shift. Part of our basic beliefs change. We will examine how this double loop is affected by the paradigms used by most people in most companies today. Here are some of the basic values most people have. We want to suppress negative feelings, maximize winning and minimize losing. We want to achieve our purposes, and we want to behave rationally from our own point of view. Most organizations don't tolerate failure. In combination with our desire to suppress negative feelings, this prompts us to avoid scrutiny. As a result, we keep our strategies secret. Most modern organizations have many internal dependencies between their parts. Our measurement and reward systems, on the other hand, are based on very old ideas and assume the parts are independent. This creates an organizational system where people strive to optimize their own part of the organization, even if some other part and the organization as a whole suffers. Like the wish to suppress negative feelings, this is a powerful incentive to keeping strategies secret. If we do not, our strategies will be opposed by someone who stands to lose. Our basic desire to achieve our purposes makes us advocate our positions. We often don't know if our strategies may cause harm because our measurements are local and because other people keep their strategies secret too. Do you trust people who keep secrets and advance their positions to the detriment of others? Well, I have a hard time doing that, especially if I'm one of the others. In most organizations, everyone is an other to most other people. Can our desire to behave rationally from our own point of view cause harm? It can if our viewpoint is local. For starters, we'll conclude that our desire for rational explanations causes us to attribute causes to events and to behaviors of ourselves and of others. Because we don't trust the secretive scheming bastards who are likely to hurt us for their own nefarious purposes, we ascribe negative attributes: stupidity, incompetence, evil, insensitivity, take your pick. Now we have built a picture that is ugly, but to at least some degree correct in most organizations. Note the built-in reinforcing loops. Even if we somehow remove the causes, this destructive system will continue to feed itself. Let's see what happens to the organization's ability to learn from experience. Common defensive strategies are not sharing information or even lying, and not admitting ignorance. If you admit ignorance, you open up yourself to being hurt by other people. Note that it is difficult to learn things if you cannot admit not knowing. Not learning does, of course, create an overabundance of things not to admit ignorance about. We get yet another self-sustaining system that is hard to break. Misunderstandings, lack of trust, and the negative qualities ascribed to others also makes it hard to learn from other people. When information isn't shared and few people are willing to learn anyway, very little learning takes place. Without learning, as I've said, there can be no change. This brings us back to the double loop. We need to see the consequences of our actions to learn. The learning problem that we have just discussed cuts off feedback from other parts of the organization. It works like this. I take action and I see the immediate beneficial effects. I don't see the unintended side effects that happens in some other part of the organization. When problems are caused in that different part or even further away, I don't see it. I don't connect it with my actions. When the negative effects reach me, I interpret it as hostile or incompetent action by others. The outer loop is affected the most. It's very dependent on correct interpretation of actions and consequences that are far separate in space and time. In effect, the learning system turns into this. The inner loop is weakened, but it usually still works. The outer loop is effectively eliminated. Our basic paradigms are fed by a closed system disconnected from reality. Imagine what can happen when you have a lot of different closed-loop systems that interact in the same organization. Worst case is when an organization self-destructs because of internal strife. Sometimes one closed-loop system grows dominant, and that can be even worse because such a system can spread with horrible consequences in business, in society, and in politics. The next time I'm going to talk about how to solve the problems I've just discussed and turn double loop learning on in an organization. Be seeing you.